Hello. I accounted for traffic in my ETA, but stuff still happened. So what's up? We're back. And also, sorry. I mean, I don't know why I'm apologizing. It's not my fault. Mostly. But I feel like it's a little bit my fault because I keep hoping that it'll stop. And I keep trying to make it stop. And maybe I'm the problem. Maybe it's because I keep trying to do things to make it stop that it keeps happening. Hello, it's me, the abstract concept of entropy. Anyway, what's up? We're starting, it's gonna be rough, and then it's gonna get better. Here we go. We're gonna start off with an update on the situation in Iran. We're watching again as a war of information is playing out because there is an internet blackout in Iran after there was a bunch of protests. Late last year, protests began mostly around economic conditions, and they quickly escalated into essentially anti-government protests. There was a brief glimmer of hope for regime change, but that has not happened, and all we know now is that some number of thousands of people have been killed by the Iranian regime. There's a bunch of different numbers being cited from a bunch of different sources, but it's really hard to get concrete information right now. Again, internet blackout in the region, which is perfect for everybody who wants to layer on their own veneer over what's going on, but what's going on is people in Iran tried to do something about the current state of their government, and the government slaughtered thousands of them. The Iranian government is saying that the US and Israel were involved in instigating and arming the uprising. The US and Israel are saying Iran bad because they killed protesters. This is Israel and the US saying that. So it's just all in bad faith, and it just sucks because the people deserve better. Which, like, duh, but it's still true. As of right now, this is basically just still going on. There's limited internet access in the region, and they're still using live ammunition against protesters. My heart is with the people and the young Iranians who have lost their lives at the hands of their own government for asking for something better. It's no secret that the government of Iran is not super well loved by its people. And it's also no secret that we had a big hand in that. So I guess it's time to go have a big hand in fucking up another place with Greenland. All right, we're gonna briefly go over this. If you want more stuff on Greenland, I posted a video on my YouTube channel yesterday. Check that out. There's actually not a whole lot to say here. I pretty much summed it up in that video, which I can summarize. It's a 5-ish minute video, but I can summarize it with this is dumb, no one wants it, and Trump is a fucking moron whose ego is gonna get us all killed. I think the only thing I want to actually say about the Greenland situation is this, and if you're somehow not aware, the very short version is Donald Trump wants to take over Greenland because ego, and no one seems to know why. The American people don't want this. International leaders are literally texting him saying, I don't know what you're doing here. But this is what I want to say. There's been a lot of people who were in support of Trump because he was the trolling president, right? All of the time that he's saying, like, oh, we're going to go after Canada, we're going to go after XYZ, we're going to do all these horrific things. They're like, oh, he's just trolling. Or, oh, this is the art of the deal. More, it was just, oh, haha, he's funny, crazy man, and he's shaking things up. Hey, these are people's lives. Haha, funny trolling man doesn't work with international negotiations, because international negotiations involve weaponry and nukes. Now, there's a lot of people who have like a black-pilled nihilistic view that are just accelerationists, and they want Trump to just destroy everything, and they're fine with just everything going down in flames. And like, all that tells me is you're a dangerous person. It tells me that you would rather do nothing and let everyone suffer than try to make the world better through effort. And then usually they're like, oh, well, what are you doing to fix it? Trying my best. And unfortunately, even with my best, my president is trying to take over Greenland. But hey, if we can use this to take a few people, grab them by the shoulders, and shake them and be like, hey, do you get it yet? Maybe that's progress. Slow progress, annoyingly slow progress, painfully, disastrously slow in some cases, but non-zero. As opposed to throwing the car in hyper reverse off a cliff like we're doing right now. Moving on. We're going to shift away from politics into tech and also geopolitics. But stick with me. Did you forget about the Apple Vision Pro? Apple probably wanted you to. The Apple Vision Pro. It came out some time ago. And oops, it's Apple's mixed reality headset. You put it on, you'll look like a stupid idiot, and then it also makes your eyes appear through the screen. In reality, it's a very fancy VR headset, right? Like it is undeniably a top-of-the-line, impressive piece of technology that costs $3,500 and has as Apple boasts, 3,000 apps designed for it. Great. So no joke, Apple actually updated the Vision Pro recently. Like, they put a new chip in it and released a new version of it. And then they cut their advertising by 95% and halted production. As of right now, I don't really know what the future of the Vision Pro is, but god damn. Now, the Apple Vision Pro was supposed to be Apple's, like, 3D spatial computing thing. They wanted to really break into the spatial computing space. And, like, okay, sure. I will grant that 3D mapped computing is a thing that I can see having use cases. Totally, absolutely valid. Makes sense. You could probably do some really cool stuff with it. Is that really consumer software that's like ready for the market right now? And sure, like early adopters and stuff, it was an early adopter product. Sure, okay. There's also like no conceivable way that Apple's rolling out an update to it that's not this giant piece of hardware strapped to your face. Is this the end for the Vision Pro and for Apple? No. I don't think this is the end of the Apple Vision line. I don't think it's the end of the Apple Vision Pro, and Apple's gonna be just fine. I think the most likely thing that's gonna happen is we will see like an Apple Vision Air eventually. That's gonna be more of a glasses thing rather than a headset, and they're gonna go for it that way. But Apple recently just overhauled all of their UIs to mimic the Vision Pro operating system. That's what Liquid Glass is. If you have an iPhone or a Mac and you updated recently and you're like, what the fuck is this? That's because of the Vision Pro. So Apple's really going all in on this. We shall see. But until then, we'll just be in this reality where there's like homeless people that we have to look at. But soon, imagine the utopia when we can just put on our Apple Vision Airs and walk down the street and it'll just automatically block out all those gross, poor people. $3,500, by the way. All right, let's talk about Twitter. Everyone's favorite deepfake porn website, Twitter. This played out over the past few weeks, and I've been wanting to talk about it, but a couple of other things also happened. So I'm finally going to talk about this. On Twitter, Grok, Elon Musk's AI, got a new superpower in which people could just be like, hey, remix this image of another user to show them in a compromising position wearing a see-through bikini. This obviously led to a bunch of people being like, hey, what the fuck? Hey, don't do that. It's using a feature that basically lets anybody take an image on Twitter and run it through like an image modifier thing, including art, but also, of course, including anyone's pictures of themselves, of anyone, of any age. Obviously, that's a problem, but also, obviously, it's not the only place that you can do this. Like, you don't need to be on Twitter to use this functionality. You can use any number of other AIs. But the problem here, beyond that being a thing, is that here comes Twitter, a privately owned for-profit company that has essentially a service that is allowing people to undress minors for profit. But don't worry, it's okay, because they solved the problem. They took a crack at fixing it by putting that functionality behind a paywall. They made it so that only paying blue checkmark accounts could use the functionality that was able to do that. They didn't stop it. They just said, pay us money if you want to do that. That'll fix it. Eventually, they turned it off and said that they're going to fix it. I have my doubts. The only reason that they actually did anything was because there was growing international outrage, basically being like, you can't keep doing bullshit like this and expect to operate in our locality. And Twitter's already being fined by the EU for other shit, and they're already throwing a hissy fit over that. So this is just adding to that fire. But there's something about having your robot generate scantily clad children that makes it a little harder to defend than Mafreeze Peach. Far be it from me to victim blame, and the people who had this done to them deserve compensation, frankly. And also, I really want to make this clear. Get off of Twitter. I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying it's a Nazi bar. It is not your fault that this website that you used for a long time was taken over by a crazy person who then seeded it with his crazy followers who want to undress children with a chatbot. But that is the reality of where we are. And so if you're an artist, if you're a femme-presenting person, if you're a human being with a soul, it's a dangerous place to have an account right now. It's been years of this. Please, at least begin trying to find another place to go to host your stuff or post things online. It's not going to get better. One of the first things that Musk did when he took over was get rid of the trust and safety team. This is a quote from the former head of trust and safety at Twitter after they were yeeted out by Elon Musk. Quote, people need to very thoughtfully and carefully weigh the costs and benefits of using Twitter given their personal security situation. And that's a terrifying prospect to have to come to terms with, especially for many people who have spent the better part of a decade building a platform and an audience and a community on Twitter. Okay, but that is enough about Elon Musk and his AI and all that bullshit. Let's talk about Elon Musk and his AI and all that bullshit. You may recall that there's a massive data center called Colossus in Memphis. That is xAI's data center where they run Grok, or, well, among other things, it's their flagship data center. This giant data center is in a former Electrolux facility, and it's powered with enough energy to power a city. Where do they get all that power? Oh, just a handful of methane turbines that they're running on premises constantly. Elon Musk, that guy that's going to save us with the electric cars, yeah. Methane gas turbines to power his giant data center, to power an AI that can undress children. Now, these turbines have been polluting the air and poisoning the community for years, and activists have been pushing back against this. This is not a news story. But because we live in this country, we've got a corporate entity that is flagrantly just violating environmental laws, poisoning people, but, oh, it's okay because economy. Now, look, xAI was not the first company to come in and start dumping toxic waste into the Memphis area. It was the 18th company to open up to be doing that right now. But it's also one of the biggest contributors. So what happened? Well, there was an actually pretty good win for the activists. The EPA has ruled that Elon Musk's xAI must have permits for all of the turbines that they are using. Now, they did apply for some permits for temporary turbines, 15 of them, 15 temporary turbine permits, with which they used to operate more than 30. And temporary meant they just had to move its physical location once every 364 days. So ultimately, the EPA didn't make a ruling that says xAI did crimes, but the EPA made a ruling specifically about the crimes that xAI is doing. I'm just going to gesture broadly to the reality we live in currently. I don't know how this is going to be enforced, if at all, for a while, but it's something. This was the result of a bunch of nonstop work from Black activists in the region, and I want to read a quote from Kashawn Pearson, who is one of the activists that has been very loud about this. Quote, Electrolux signed deals that demanded that they create jobs. They got tax breaks and then they left. We know this scam. We've seen it before, and the irony isn't lost on us that it's in the same building. It's the exact same building, and it's the exact same story. We know exploitation, because in this same exact area, there are 17 toxic release facilities. Over 90% of particulate matter in the air in all of our county is in southwest Memphis. And guess where there isn't an air monitor for pollution? Now, here's a fun little nugget that I discovered while researching this. Data center project cancellations have quadrupled in 2025, with 21 of the 25 canceled projects happening in the second half of 2025. Some of that is because there's an increase in demand for data centers, but those cancellations can't happen unless the people in those areas are standing up against them. And boy howdy, are they standing up. People are mad about this, and things are happening. Data centers are being stopped. Not everywhere, not every time, but I really want to point out that people are actually pushing back on this with success. Lightning round. After a failed attempt at making a Jon Snow spin-off from Game of Thrones, HBO is now going to do an Arya Stark spin-off from Game of Thrones. This is because new ideas are boring. TikTok is soon going to start trying to identify users in the EU under the age of 13 by scanning their profiles with an AI. OpenAI is going to start rolling out ads in ChatGPT responses for some users. And finally for today, meet Veronica, a cow who uses tools to scratch her back. She's an absolute fucking queen, and she's got scientists baffled as to just how clever a clever cow could be. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Stuff Keeps Happening. Head to skh.news for sources, bonus content, and instructions on how to be a clever cow. My name is Endeavorance. We'll talk again soon. Take care and be well.